Hi everyone, it's Giorgia here and welcome to Be Colorful. Today I'm gonna propose you a lot of cards using the chalk mousse included in the Tonic Craft Kit 46. I'm gonna use this new product by Nuvo with the stencil technique. If you don't have this chalk mousse, you can use any paste or mousse that you have. In fact, in this video we will focus on the stencil technique with a mousse or paste, how obtain a shadow effect, and I'm gonna propose you various card designs in order to use the panels created with the stencil. So let's equip a spatula, stencils and pastes, and let's start! Let's start immediately with the first panel, which I get from the cream cardstock included in the kit. Before moving on to stenciling, I'm going to decorate the panel with some textual stamping here and there using the lilac ink from the kit. Next, we can start using the stencil. Specifically, we're gonna create a shadow effect. So I fix the stencil with masking tape. I'm using a simple polka dot stencil. You can use any stencil you have at home. Then I take the purple ink pad from the kit and apply it all over the surface using a blending sponge. Also in this case you can use any color that you like. I'm using this as it matches the mousse I'm going to use, and it is a darker shade. Now let's move on to making the second stencil using the texture paste we have chosen and the same stencil, which I'm going to position slightly offset from the first layer created with the ink. As I already said, I'm gonna use the mousse included in the kit, which is specifically a light lilac chalk mousse. These chalk mousses are one of the latest pastes released by Tonic Studios. The peculiarity of these mousses is that once dry, they will have a gorgeous opaque finish. Okay, to apply the mousse, I'm using a spatula, picking up the product with the lower part of the spatula. After covering the entire surface, I'm going to put the excess back inside the pot and very carefully I'm going to remove the stencil. When I finish, I'm going to clean up everything, especially the stencil, otherwise it gets damaged, and I let it dry. What are the drying time? I don't know exactly. It depends on the environment you are in and the amount of mousse you have applied. An hour is probably enough. In my case, for reasons of my free time, I made all the panels one evening and the next day I created the card. Okay, let's move on to another stencil. Always with the same technique, I'm going to create a panel using ivory cardstock, leftover from some other card. Once the ink is applied, I'm going to reposition the stencil, always slightly offset from the first layer. But first I'm going to add some visual interest to the background by randomly stamping part of this stamp with text. Once the mousse is applied, I remove the stencil and here we go. Again, a simple but beautiful stencil with a shading effect. I continue with creating other panels, changing the color of the cardstock and also the medium to create the shadows. In fact, in addition to colored ink pad, we can use a white ink pad. Both the white ink and the mousses have a fantastic effect on the black cardstock. Try it! We can also test the effect on different colors of cardstock. My mousse is light lilac, which is a color that goes very well with grays. Then, if you don't have a white ink pad, you can also use acrylic paint. I'm going to apply the acrylic color with a sponge, dabbing the stencil and without put too much color on the sponge, otherwise a mess comes out. Another medium we can use to do the shadow effect for our mousse are spray colors, like for example Distress Oxide sprays. Or the Nuvo sprays, such as sparkle sprays. Before proceeding with the application of the mousse, I'm going to add some details to the background, always using the same stamp. This time I stamp using clear Versamark ink in order to get a tone-on-tone stamp. And now we can spread the mousse on all the panels, repositioning the stencil slightly offset. Well, once our panels are dry, we can use them to create the card. For the first card, I'm gonna use one of the ready-made card base included in the kit. I'm going to combine my panel with the particular purple embossed paper, always included in the kit. I chop off the panel and I create another panel on the purple embossed paper, which will create some finishing edges. From the pink pearlescent paper in the kit, I'm going to make a strip of paper to create a decorative band. Then I'm going to create the oval for my sentiment on the embossed purple paper, using the dies of the kit. After that, on the pearlescent pink band, I'm going to die cut an intricate pattern using one of the dies of the set. I'm going to extend the decorative strip by cutting it into two parts. The empty space will be hidden by the oval sentiment. To bring out the intricate design a little bit, I'm going to glue a piece of Velum to the back of the band. Then I start assembling the card. To save some embossed paper, I removed the center of the panel, so it will be covered by the main panel. As a sentiment, I'm going to use the dies from the kit on the pearlescent pink paper. I also add a piece of vellum here so that the writings will be more visible. I glue the sentiment on the card with some foam pad to give a nice dimension. I finish off my card by gluing some pink and lilac gems here and there. With this panel I'm going to create two cards. First of all, I prepare the card bases on white cardstock in standard size, that's 4¼ by 5½ inches. Then I divide the panel in two to create two cards. Next, I'm going to cut out two strips of pink pearlescent paper to create the finishing borders for the two panels. Then I cut out the panels so that they are as long as the card base, that is 5½ inches. On white cardstock I'm going to stamp the sentiment included in the kit with clear Versamark ink. And I do a heat embossing technique with the lilac embossing powder, always included in the kit. I'm going to add some finishing borders to the sentiment with the pink pearlescent paper and the grey cardstock. Now it's time to glue everything on the card bases. And I finish the card by creating a few drops of Lilac crystal drop, not included in the kit. The next design that I'm gonna propose to you to use the panels created is very simple and will has, as for the two previous cards, a banner that will be the focal point. As a card base, I'm gonna use the ready-made ones included in the kit, which are always in American standard A2 size. So, back to us, I cut out two strips of this beautiful and elegant gold embossed paper included in the kit, creating finishing borders for the main panel. Now I'm cutting out the panel to be 5.5 inches. And I move on to the sentiment, by die cutting on black cardstock the sentiment with love included in the kit. I'm going to add to the sentiment a background with purple embossed paper, otherwise it can't be readable easily. To get some of this color elsewhere on the card, I cut out two strips of paper and add two more borders to the main panel. And now I take the sentiment back in hand. I glue everything on the card base. Finally, as final details, I'm going to create a few drops with the light golden crystal drop that we found in the kit. That's all for today. The video was coming out too long, so I decided to split it into two parts. So I give you, therefore, an appointment for the next video, where we will continue to create cards with the panels that we have created with the stencil technique. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leaving a nice thumbs up if you liked the video, and even a comment. Tell me if you have tried the shadow technique and if you have already used Nuvo charcoal mousse with the stencil technique. Thank you for joining with me today and see you next time. Bye bye and be colorful.